Make sure that as you're sharing in the chat where you're from, where you're joining us from, go ahead and share that. You should have the choice to share with hosts and panelists alone. You can also share with just everybody on the call. So I see a bunch of you sharing here with just the hosts and panelists. Make sure that you're sharing with everybody on the call as well. Glad you guys could be here. Good to see you. I always have just a little bit of anxiety that we start the show and it's just me. So thank you everybody for being here and joining us. We got a lot of ground that I want to cover today. And a lot of things that I want to go over there. You really should have something to take notes with, because I'm going to move really, really quickly. And we may have some time for Q&A at the end. So write your questions down as you have them. Depending on how long it kind of takes us to get through the content today, there may be some time for Q&A at the end. If there is not, or you don't get your question answered, I have a link that I'll share with everybody at the end of the call where you can book an opportunity to talk with us and talk with our staff about some of your own custom questions. Everybody's studio is a little bit different. Everybody's area is a little bit different. Everybody's offer that you're presenting to the world is a little bit different. We want to make sure that we can customize some good answers for you guys. And we just genuinely believe that what you folks are doing is the most important work really that can be done right now in the world. You have a massive impact on people. You have a way to bring people together personally and physically and voluntarily in a world that is consistently more fractured by globalization of everything, the Walmartification of the world, and a virtual contact and outreach. And I just think that you guys have absolutely some of the most important things to offer to the world, and we want to make sure that you have more influence. And that's the reason that I do what I do, and it's fun to see that increase. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. We got a bunch of folks from Texas and Washington and Florida, Ohio and Wisconsin. Keep that coming in. Love to hear where you're joining us from today. And then some of you folks have been working with for a while in one of our programs. Some of you folks are kind of new to what we do. I know that there's a bunch of different people joining us today and going to be watching what we're doing. So we're kind of all over the place with kind of how experienced you are with what we're doing. But I'm going to try and go over some things today on this presentation that we haven't taught outside of our paid programs. And in order to do that, we kind of need to bring everybody up to speed on a few things that we do in our paid programs to kind of get everybody on the same page a little bit, if that makes sense. And so I'm gonna spend a little bit of time at the beginning here kind of reviewing some of those strategies and why we think those are important. Then we're going to do a little bit of story time with Mago today too. I have a couple of stories that I like to share that I think drive the point home on what it's going to take to actually significantly increase the influence that you have in your communities. And so I'll be sharing some of that with you guys. Before I get into that, I have a couple of announcements that I just wanted to go over really quickly. We have a number of live actual in-person events coming up. Yeah, Katie, story time with Mago is the best. Looking forward to it. Glad you're here. Thanks for joining. We believe that, meeting on Zoom is awesome. That's a great tool. But as you'll see, I'm a big fan of getting together in person, doing things in person. We do have a live event coming up in October on the beach in Florida. That is a mastermind only event. So we are going over some really high level stuff, some high level studio financing stuff, some things about scaling your staff members. So you're bringing on more staff members when you get to that point, that's kind of the bottleneck and the limiting thing for you. If you are not in one of our mastermind programs, we'd love to have you. That's just one of the events that we do for those guys in that program. And we can chat more about that and what that looks like if you'd like to have that conversation. Happy to talk to you. But that one is a mastermind only event. And then in February, we have a live event planned for Las Vegas. That one's open to a little bit of a broader community. Love to have you join us for that. Goal of that event is you attend that event, we increase the income of your studio over the next year by $100,000 just by attending that event. That's the goal. We got some really cool stuff that we can put together. We keep those events. What's the catch? The catch is that we keep the events pretty small. We know that if we can kind of keep the intimacy level of those events, we can concentrate the work that we actually get done rather than it just being some big lecture where everybody kind of takes notes and then goes home with great ideas and doesn't actually pull the trigger on anything. And we do that by keeping those events a little bit smaller. But that's on the calendar. A couple of other things that we have coming out. We have a bunch of upgrades to our software, the Compete Studio software. A bunch of new changes to that. We anticipate that by the end of the year, it will be almost unrecognizable. We're really excited about what we're throwing behind that and some of the updates and changes we're making to that. So keep your eyes on that. Don't be too surprised, those of you that are using that software, as you see some of those changes rolling out over the next several months. I'm really excited about those changes for my own studio and some of the new opportunities that's going to bring. Another piece, we are pretty close to releasing some new training on sharing your space, what that looks like and how we're doing that and doing that in a way that makes sense financially so that we can the goal is to completely offset the cost of the space that you have by sharing it with other people and sharing it with other people that do not want to use the space during the times that you want to use the space. So they're actually looking for opportunities to come in and use your space while you're not there. So churches on Sundays and early morning fitness programs and those kind of things when you're probably not running things yourself, how we do that. So be watching for that. We'll be announcing that over the next little bit as some of that additional training comes out. We're testing some things on our own studios right now. As many of you know, I use my own studios as kind of laboratories to figure this stuff out. And we'll be coming out with that training in a little bit here, but be watching for that. Another thing, just a kind of a little cautionary thing. Some of you have probably seen it. How many of you guys have been hit with some kind of a phishing scam, either over email or on social media in the last week or two? Somebody saying, hey, your account's been shut down or you're in violation of, Meta's, Facebook's terms, those kind of things. You guys seen that? Yeah. There's a ton of that going on right now. We're getting all kinds of those things ourselves. And unfortunately, I'm talking to a lot of people that are losing their Facebook accounts and things because they're falling for those scams. Almost always that's a scam. If you're ever worried about something being legitimate, reach out and let us know. We'll help you figure it out. Okay. If you need help figuring out whether or not one of those things is a scam, I can't believe how much that's increased over the last month or two. And so just be aware that you're not the only one that's getting hit with that. A lot of folks are. And it's not just on social media. We're seeing it on email. We've had a couple of folks that have quite literally had like people showing up at their studio and trying to sell them services that are scams and that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure what's going on, but there's definitely a lot more of that right now. So be aware of that. Be watching out for that. Be vigilant about that. Losing your Facebook ad account or your Facebook page isn't the end of the world, but it's not helpful. And it takes a long time for us to get that stuff back. We have a lot of experience with doing that, but yeah, I know RITs. Yeah, Google's showing up and trying to charge us to update your photos and stuff. Like that's the secret to attracting a bunch of new students. Yeah, fantastic. So watch out for that. Okay. Today I'm going to try and go over a bunch of stuff. We're going to show you how we at my own studio will be doing 90 students in 90 days. And when I say that, it means a couple of things. 90 students are new students. So that's not students coming back after the summer. That's not students that were training with us over the summer. That's new folks that are brand new to the studio. We're going to be doing that 90 students in 90 days. Our average student value is significantly higher than any of our competitors by about 4 times, which means that my competitors would have to enroll at minimum 200 students in order to see the same financial profit benefit that our studios will see by doing that number of enrollments. So that's the standard I set for myself. You guys may have a different standard, but that is what I'll kind of try and go over today and show you guys how we're doing that specifically. I had a retreat this weekend with my student success advisors staff. Really fun. Went and stayed in a retreat center with them and spent a couple of days training and kind of fighting a little bit over what we thought was important to be doing in our own studios and getting all of that set up and updated and everybody on the same page. So that was a really good, really positive weekend, really fun. The other thing we're going to go over today, I'll talk to you about specifically about some of the open house strategies that we use this time of year. We'll be using that this time of year, and then at my studios, we also do those at the end of January and beginning of February. Same strategy, 2 different times a year. We'll try and go over a little bit of that today. We'll talk about what we do after the open house that literally doubles the enrollment rate of the open house, and specifically how we're implementing that. Another thing, we'll go over one kind of super simple technique that gets more folks to refer their friends, and we'll do that. We're doing that at any time of year. So I'll lay that out for you guys today and show you what that looks like. Okay. Like I said, a lot of stuff for us to go over. You're going to want to have something to take notes with. So if you don't have that, go grab that now. And I'll tell you, when I think there's something really important that you ought to be either writing down on a pad of paper or maybe getting tattooed on your forearm or something like that, because we think it's an important thing. We are not, let's start off with this. We are not just competing with other dance studios. Now, how many of you guys in the chat, go ahead and share with us, how many of you feel like you are in a competitive area, that in the 15, 20 miles around you, there's a whole heck of a lot of competitors, and that is one of the things that makes life a little bit difficult for you guys? How many of you feel that that's the case with what you're doing? Okay, good. I love Jennifer saying, hey, we're competing with sports. Yeah, I think this is a good point. It's not just your direct competitors, right? Yeah, keep that coming in the chat, folks. I see a few of those popping up. Yeah, and Jeanette, 4 doors down. Mine, there's probably people who could throw a baseball and hit like the studio down the road for me. Direct competition, offering virtually, at least from the front end, looking very similar to what it is that we do. Not only that, but I've seen a bunch of studios in my area now directly copycatting the verbiage and the structure of the open houses that we run, which is an interesting shift to see. Oh yeah, Jennifer saying they're also cheaper studios. That's actually a good thing. We'll talk about that in a second here. But we're not just competing directly with other sports and, folks that teach exactly the same thing we teach. We are competing in our industry. We are competing directly with just life getting in the way and busy schedules and that kind of stuff. And we have to be more proactive in that sense with what we're doing today than we ever have really in the past. And I saw this shift happen, especially kind of post-COVID. And we'll talk about why that was in a second here. But there needs to be more proactive work on our side now today in order to compete with those things, in order to get people enrolled, in order to capture their attention in the first place. We just simply have to do more today than we did 3 or 4 years ago, especially 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Those of you that are running a studio for a decade, the way that we run our marketing today doesn't even compare anywhere near to what we were doing 10 years ago. It's just the amount of energy that needs to go into this is absolutely significantly increased. And if you're just sort of not willing to do that, and you just want to put an online enrollment widget on your website and hope that works, we're going to waste a bunch of your time today. Okay. So just keep that in mind, that it's not just you. And I don't want you to feel like in your area that this is just you. We're seeing this just everywhere. Another thing too, that I wanted to point out really quickly is that we track as best as we can, and this is hard to do, but we track how many studios there kind of are out there, right? Because we want to know if our market is growing as we're trying to sell stuff to the dance studio world, if our market is growing, if it's shrinking, and what's happening. Anybody want to take a guess what happened over COVID? Are there now more studios or fewer studios post-COVID than there were pre-COVID? Anybody have any idea? Yeah, there's significantly more. And while COVID did have an impact, it did force many studios to shut down and to close down. It did have that impact. I think it had this weird impact also where people were like confronted with their own mortality. And they're like, I've always wanted to go open a studio. I'm just going to go do it. And then did it, or believed that because they saw, businesses struggling or shutting down or something like that in their areas that they just decided they were going to do that. Yep, Dana, exactly. So many folks leaving corporate work and all that kind of stuff. Irene, I did great. Yeah, love it. Yeah, she's a great example of that, and that was the reason that she opened her studio. So this is not just you, is what I'm saying. And the amount of energy and the amount of creativity that we need to put into our marketing today is more than it was back then. There's another problem, though, with how competitive this environment is. It's not just that there's more people. It's not just that it was competitive before COVID and now there's more businesses. There's some other things going on here that distinguish this industry from other industries, and I want to drive that point home. This is really important to understand. I'm sitting right now in a little nonprofit that I volunteer time at every single week, that it's dedicated to helping local brick and mortar businesses in my area to increase their kind of success rate in the economy of the city that I live in. And it focuses especially on some economically underperforming, economically challenged areas in the city is what it kind of focuses on as well. And I love working with those businesses and helping them figure some stuff out. But there's another mentor that works here that just a few years ago, about 3 years ago, exited his software company. He sold his software company. He was the CEO at the time. And when he did that, he made so much money that he couldn't spend it in a lifetime. Like I think he made such a big chunk of change that he never has to worry about working again in his life. And it would be a challenge for him to spend it all in his lifetime. He's one of those guys. And I was talking to him, and he and his wife decided that they were going to open another business together. And they opened an ice cream shop in the city just north of me here. And I was talking to him about that and thinking about that ice cream shop. I went up there and visited. It's a great, cute little space in an old house that they built right along a bike trail right next to a lake. Fantastic spot. And really great offering. And, it's a great, legit business. But somebody help me out here in the chat. Why is that guy hard to compete with? If you're an ice cream shop, why should you be trembling in your boots about competing with that guy? Why is that? Anybody have any ideas why that would be? Yeah, Jenna, he has all the money to spend. He could go into that area. Yeah, Jennifer, cash flow, exactly. He could go into that area, right? And he could use the Walmart strategy where they drop all their prices so low. He could give ice cream away for free for 2 years out of his shop, right? He could give all of the ice cream away for free. And can the other ice cream shops in the area afford to do that? No, they can't. Now, I agree. Jermaine's chatting here, previous business knowledge and cash. Yeah, the previous business knowledge, I'm sure makes a difference. I'm sure that does help. But the point that I'm trying to make is that this dude has enough money that he doesn't have to be profitable. As another ice cream store, how are you going to compete with that? What is it you're going to do to compete with that? Now, why am I sharing that story in our industry? I'm a little bit critical of this industry. I'll give you that hint. Why am I sharing that story? Why are we in a similar position in this industry? I hope this doesn't offend too many people too much. Anybody have an idea of why that would be? Why am I sharing that? Okay, Peter, sure, other studios are charging less. It is a race to the bottom. That is true. I am the most expensive in my area by far. There's no question about that. But let me suggest this, and I want you guys to tell me if I'm right or not. If I'm right or not. Do I have competitors that do not need to be profitable? Do I have competitors that are not trying to be profitable? I know that might sound stupid to the folks who showed up to this call, because if you're in this call, you're probably a specific type of studio owner with a specific type of thing. But one of the businesses that's coming through the training that we offer here at this nonprofit right now happens to own a dance studio here in town. And they asked me to sit down with her and just go over some numbers with her, because they also have grants. That's exactly right. This nonprofit is going to give the studio $27,000. One of my competitors are giving me $27,000 to help her to survive for the next 12 months, and wanted me to sit down and go over her stats with her. She is a very lovely lady. She has a very fantastic high-level program, I'm sure, at her studio. She lives with her parents, does not aspire to move out of that house, is not married, does not have a family that she needs to support. Is that different than my experience and what I'm trying to accomplish? She is out there, as Peter was implying, applying for grants and those kind of things. There are folks in this industry, more so than in just about any other industry that I have ever seen, that have a spouse with a quote unquote real job. And they have an expensive hobby and have opened these businesses because they're looking for some kind of personal validation and not necessarily profit. Now, please understand, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to point out this, that if you had gone out and opened a software company or a liquor store, you would not be competing against people like that. Does that make sense? Nobody had to worry about that. Ads, yeah, I love it. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for opening up that you're an example of somebody where we did not have to worry about the profit of this because we had some other source of income or something. I have never run into another industry where that is as common as it is in this one. That is who you are competing with. You are competing against people that do not need to have more influence in their community. They don't understand the importance of that. They do not need to be profitable. And that is difficult. Okay. Now, as we're talking about the competitive nature of everything, let's talk about one other thing here, just really quickly. I played the game with a buddy of mine the other day. As we were talking about the software developments we were making, if we were to just pick a random city, after this call today, maybe you guys can go do this. Go ask ChatGPT to pick a random city for you, okay? And I want you to Google this. I want you to Google that city and the word dance studio next to it. And I want you to look at the first studios that come up, right? Especially those that are teaching sort of ballet, tap, jazz, that kind of stuff. And I want you to click on their website. And in the chat for a second here, everybody, let's play a little game. Share with me some things that you are 99% sure they're going to have on their website. Ooh, this is kind of painful. Okay, good. But maybe there's free trials. They're going to put their prices. Jenna, they have an online registration tool. They're either driving people directly to Jackrabbit or to those kind of things. Well, I love it, man. There's a ton of stuff coming in here. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff coming in here. And the point that I'm trying to make here is that if we can shift our brains from being so proud of what we have and so much, so we can shift our thinking from, hey, I know my program's awesome and I can tell by my website, right? To the way that beginners think. People that are out shopping for our stuff and don't have as much education in what we do as we do. What are those people seeing? The fact that I can pick any city in the nation, and it's literally, you may not be in the United States, wherever you're at, this is probably holds true. It's really, really hard to distinguish one of those studios from another. And when I can't distinguish something clearly that it's beneficial to me over the competitors, I make my decision on how close it is to my house and how cheap it is. The problem with everybody doing the same thing, go join, click to Jackrabbit and enroll yourself in the classes online. The problem with that, with everybody doing the same thing, is that everybody's doing the same thing, right? It is almost like a cult-like following that everybody thinks that this works the same way. And that is part of what you're competing against. Now, that actually makes it a little bit easier to compete. And we'll talk about how we'll do that in a second. But we need to be different, and we need to be able to offer a difference on the front end, not just on the back end. So if I ask you the question, what is it that distinguishes your studio from your competitors? Think about that for just a second. How many of you came up with an answer that is a back end answer that they have to come into your studio to find out about? Does that make sense? How many of you, the first thing, and please don't take this too much as a criticism, but how many of you came up with something that is not clearly indicated on your website, or that is not a clear distinguishing characteristic? We have fun classes, we have professionally trained instructors, we have a family atmosphere, all of those things. I bet I can find those on 8 out of 10 websites of dance studios that I've seen. Okay. We need to have that clear distinction on the front end if you want to be hitting some of the numbers that we're hitting. Is that fair? Okay. All right. I hope I kind of wanted to hit that hammer a little bit hard on how competitive this is. So how then do we compete in this market? Well, one of the really important things to keep in mind is that your competitors, because there's this almost like cult-like following where everybody's kind of, doing this race to mediocrity. And what I mean by that is everybody's kind of doing the same thing. If you do what everybody else is doing, you are by definition being mediocre. Okay. So this cult-like following of the mediocre, if we can understand what those people believe and not believe the same thing, that is a big step in the right direction of our marketing working better than theirs does. Is that fair? Okay. Now, I'm not going to spend I have a whole list of things that they believe that they shouldn't be believing. But one of the things I think that they're buying into is that there's this convenience that they're offering to the world by putting an online enrollment widget on their website and having this like smorgasbord. You just go sign yourself up, choose whatever classes you want, blah, 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 that there's this idea that somehow is serving both themselves and somebody else. I challenge anybody to go on a Facebook and the little dance teacher groups on there and go read through a bunch of those. Every single day almost, there's some kind of post that could be solved, some kind of problem somebody's complaining about that could be solved by not doing enrollments that way. If we could just break out of that sort of cult-like thought process. And we're gonna talk about that today, okay? How many of you guys like to call your bank or your insurance company and be put into some kind of a phone tree where you can't get a hold of a human being and ask them actual questions? I don't like that, but this is one of the shifts I was talking about that happened over COVID. That the automation, is that the word? Is that what I'm looking for? Of customer service can be done, and bad customer service can be automated. That can be done. It should not be done. And because it is so commonplace in our industry today, if we move away from that, it's a competitive edge. It is what it is. Okay. All right. I've got another story here that I'm hoping kind of puts this in context. Many of you have heard this one already. We used to perform on the streets a lot. We'd go out and, frankly, when my wife and I first got married many, many years ago, that was date night. We would go out and perform on the street. We'd make a few bucks and then we'd take that money and we'd go buy ice cream. That was date night at the time when we were poor and that was kind of what we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, right? And one time when my son, my capoeira group, my Brazilian group, was getting ready to perform up in Boulder on Pearl Street, a lot of street performers, pedestrian mall, cool shops, that kind of stuff. And this was probably 15, 16 years ago. We were getting ready to perform on the street, and I was walking around with my son, who was only, 18 months, 2 years old at the time, something like that. There was a little play place there that he was going to climb on some little animal statues and stuff. And this guy set up and he was going to make some balloon animals. And I recognized what he was doing. He was getting ready and he was getting set up to do that. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, how much is a balloon animal?" Expecting to give him $2 and have him make a little poodle for my son out of balloons, right? Out of balloons. And some of you know the story already. What he said to me, he said, "Wait just a minute and let me make him something, and then you can decide what it's worth." And I thought, well, that's an odd kind of response. But then he went into this whole thing where he was, started out with this little thing and it became a bigger thing. And at some point it was a hat he could wear. And at some point it was a bow and arrow. And at some point it was a motorcycle. And my son ended up having, 30 minutes of him being the center of attention and being the hero of the story, and then ending up with this massive thing at the end. I don't even remember what it was that he was able to take home and play with. And I remember pulling out my wallet to go pay the guy and looking into my wallet and realizing that I only had like 30, $35 in there, and like feeling bad that that's all that I had to give to the guy. When I walked up to him myself and was ready to like pay him $2 for a poodle, for him to make a little balloon animal poodle, what happened between that time and the very short amount of time where I was literally willing to pay him 20 times as much? What happened? Anybody have any ideas? What happened in that short amount of time? Yeah, this was such a profound impact on me and my business. This guy took an opportunity before he told me anything about price, before he tried to sell me anything. He took an opportunity to demonstrate value. He took an opportunity to demonstrate value. He didn't just try to sell me something. My friends, sales is sacred. When you put a little online enrollment widget on your website, you're pushing all of that sanctity onto the other person. I will not sell something to somebody unless I believe that it's going to be a great fit for what they have. And I want them to make the judgment about what I am selling to them based on the value that I'm able to demonstrate to them, not just based on an online enrollment widget. Okay. When somebody hits your website, are they more excited about your programs at that point, or are they more excited after they come in and they do an intro? If your answer to that question is that they're more excited when they hit the website, we got to fix something. Of course, they're more excited when they come in and they actually do something. You have an opportunity to demonstrate that value. And so what we want to have happen, this is where the marketing piece comes in. We want to create the hand-raising event where people come and say, hey, I'm interested in what it is you have to do. And then there's the enrollment event, but it's down here, and we fill this gap with a demonstration of value. Does that make sense? So the guy walks up and says, hey, I want to buy a $2 poodle noodle, or, poodle balloon noodle for my kid. And then he says, hey, wait a minute, just a second. Let me show you some value. And then you can decide, and then I can try and sell you something down here. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That's what we want to do. That was a transformative experience for me when that guy did that to me. And I realized literally a 20x increase in what I was willing to pay in a very, very short amount of time. Is that helpful? Everybody understand where we're going? We okay to do that? All right. Now, my marketing, I have a very high standard. I have a very high standard for what I want my marketing to do for me. I'm not willing to just throw up some little Facebook ads and expect that to somehow magically solve all my problems. I'm not willing to just go use pretty pictures on my website and think that magically somehow that's going to transform somebody's emotions and demonstrate all of my value. There are two very specific things that I want my marketing to help me do. And this is where you might want to take some notes here. If my marketing's not doing these two things, it's not technically marketing, it's something else for me. Number one is I need it to help me outrun the money problem. And number two is I need it to attract and retain top tier students and potentially repel everybody else. Now, number one, let's talk about that for a second. I want it to help me outrun the money problem. Who can describe to me what the money problem is? When I talk about the money problem, those of you that have been around before and heard me tell the same stories 12 times, what do I mean when I'm talking about the money problem? If you want to raise your hand, I can come around and unmute you, or you can type it in the chat, either way. What's the money problem? Who can share with us what the money problem is in this industry? Because so many students, about 90% of all the students that we work, or studios that we work with, run into this issue if they can't fix it. The money problem is this. Yeah, this is not bad, Jenna. Good. You get the little gold star here for the day. Yeah, this is what Jenna's typing in the chat here is the right direction. That more success will bring more students, that will need more space, that will need more staff, that cost more money. Those are the most expensive things that you guys have as studio owners, real estate and people, right? Those are probably two of your highest costs in running this business. And scaling this business means that you need to invest more in those two things. And so having more students does not necessarily translate to having more profit. That's the money problem. That as we scale and grow, and I know you have studios in your area, maybe you are one of these studios where they, externally all look like everything's going well. I talk to these guys all the time. They've got 400 or 500 students. They've been in business for 30 years, and they're sliding along laterally financially, and nobody's making any money. And it's because they haven't outrun the money problem. The facility got more expensive. The staff got more expensive. Everything gets more expensive as you grow, and that the incoming income, doesn't scale to outrun that. And so I want my marketing to help me outrun the money problem. That's number one requirement for me, okay? Number two requirement for my marketing is that it has to attract the top tier students. Now let's take a minute and think about what that means to you, because it might mean something different to you than it does to me. I have some very specific requirements of what I mean by a top tier student. What is a top tier student like to you? Take a moment and write that down. What does a top tier student mean to you? What does that mean? Go ahead and share it in the chat if you want to as well. Love it. Dedicated and committed were the first two things people typed in. I love that. That's fantastic. Another vote for committed. What does it mean to you, right? That you're attracting the right kinds of people. Okay, Virginia says money's not an issue. They're committed to a long term. Oh, that they're communicative? Yeah. If they're friendly and they talk to me, yeah. Another one for me is that they see my staff, as an authority that they look up to and want to follow. I don't want them coming in and telling my staff how this program ought to be run. I want them looking to my staff and saying, hey, how can I get a better result? Hey, what is it that I should do? You know, they're coming to them for advice to be able to better follow the right path, right? That's what I want. Yes, Jenna, again, coming to us for prescription and then respecting that expertise. I don't work with hot shots. I don't hire them and I don't bring them on as students. There's a better place for them. It's not in my business, right? It's fine. They can go be somewhere else. It's okay. And as long as step number one with my marketing is working and I'm outrunning the money problem, I can be a little bit picky and choosy with who I decide that I'm going to work with. The really cool thing about that is that when I'm in that position and I have that confidence, guess what type of student I tend to attract? If I'm in a place where I am sort of desperate to get students because I'm not outrunning the money problem, if I'm in that place, guess what kind of student that I attract? Guess what kind of student I'm willing to sign up when I'm in that place? I'm not kind of willing to say no and set boundaries and that kind of stuff. I'm not. And so we need to put ourselves in that position of confidence where we know what it is that we're looking for. And we're willing to say, hey, I don't think this is a great fit. You might have a great fit over there to somebody else, and very kindly and very thoughtfully. And we work with the people that fit our qualifications personally, our own boundaries for what a top tier student is. Okay. All right. Now that is asking a lot of my marketing. I'm not going to lie. That is asking a lot of my marketing. So how do I get to a place where that is a reality? Well, number one, and this might be a little bit basic for some of you guys, especially those of you that have been working with us for a while, but number one is we need a list. We need a list of people that are interested in what we do that are not currently students. How many of you guys already have a list like that? You have a database somewhere, you have it in your software. These folks reached out for information, they somehow indicated themselves, something like that. That list is by far the most valuable marketing asset you can have. One of the reasons for that is because in this world, our prospects are not easy to identify. They're not easy to see. They're camouflaged. If I were selling something to dentists' offices, I could Google dentist offices in my area, get all their names and addresses, and go knock on their doors and talk to them. That is not the world that we are in as studio owners, okay? So we need these people to do something to raise their hand so that we know that they're interested in our stuff. And then once they raise their hand, that's me walking up to the balloon animal guy. There needs to be this demonstration of value and education piece before we have earned the right to sell something to them, okay? But we need them to raise their hand. And so that's a big piece. We get those people on a list and then we can sell stuff to that list. But if we don't have that list, doing 90 students in 90 days at an average student value that's 3 or 4 times your competition is going to be very, very difficult to do. I'm just going to be frank with you. We gotta do that. So best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. If you don't have this list, second best time is right now. Let's do it right now. Okay. All right. Who's got, of those of you who have a list, how big's the list? How many people do you have on the list? list of people, you have their contact, you have at least their email, you have their name of people that Jennifer says thousands. Fantastic, Jennifer. That's great. That's good. Jenna's got about 300. Jenna, by the way, is fairly new here, about 100. Peter's got thousands. Anna's got about 350. Okay, fantastic. Cool. When was the last time of everybody who's got a list? When was the last time you sent your 9-word email to that list? When was the last time? Dean Jackson invented the 9-word email. Okay. Used it in the real estate industry, but it works in any industry. The 9-word email. Who can type in the 9-word email for me? Who can type it into the chat? It's not really always 9 words, but that's a great name to remember what it is. The idea behind the 9-word email is that you're not sending a marketing piece. Are you ready to get started in dance classes? Are you interested in getting started in dance? Yeah, we got a couple of variations of it coming in right there. That's it. I talked to Dean Jackson, the guy who invented that email, just last week, and was reviewing some things. He sends that email to his own list every 30 days. Every 30 days, he just writes an email out that's a variation on the 9-word email. So if you haven't sent it out in the last 30 days, I want you to send one out today. Okay. I want you to send it out today. Yep. Thanks, guys, for sharing that. Mary, exactly. Are you still interested in dance class? And then you sign your name. Don't put a link. Don't put a picture. It's not a newsletter, right? Yeah, Courtney, thank you for sharing. Did it 3 weeks ago and have been doing phone calls. Yeah, you're going to get a ton of responses to that. Some of the people are going to say no. About 10% of them will be like, no, we moved out of the area. We don't live there anymore, and that kind of stuff, right? No, he sends it to the group. Peter's asking, does he send it personally or as a group? Yeah, the whole point of the 9-word email, his idea behind it is that it's what he calls a spear email, simple, personalized, and expecting a response, but he sends it to the whole list. And you do not need to sit down and type thousands of these, just fire that off to the entire list. And we want it to look like, here's another great exercise that I have for you. Dig through your emails that you have personally received. And what was the email that you last received that was only sent to you personally? What was that email? I want you to do that. This is your homework. Go in and dig through your own incoming emails. And when was the last, Jennifer says yours. Yeah, I sent her one yesterday or the day before. Yeah, when was the last time you got one of those emails? And what was it like? Jennifer, did I include a picture of my face when I sent you that email? No. Did I say, no. What are the characteristics of that email? Yeah, the people who close the most deals, this isn't just true for dance studios, right? The people who close the most deals work for the people who can open the most conversations. We're just trying to create a conversation. Anyway, I'm going to stop beating that dead horse. Send a 9-word email. Send it every 30 days, okay? And you'll be amazed at the number of, you will be amazed at the number of people that will respond to that have been sitting on your list for years. And then all of a sudden something changed in their life and they're ready to pull the trigger. So we need to stay on top of that, okay? The other reason that we want to list is because retargeting today is trivial. How many of you guys have had that experience where you go to Home Depot and you're looking for blue paint, and then you go navigate around and you're surfing around the internet, and literally every website that you hit has an ad on it for blue paint? That's easy to do. That's not hard to do at all. But if we're not building a list, it becomes harder. There's not some way that we're capturing these people's contact info or tracking them when they hit our website, the pixel and the Google Analytics code and that kind of stuff. It is free to do that. It is trivial to do that kind of thing. That becomes something that we can leverage that your competitors don't understand. The other piece of this too, when you have a list, is creating lookalike audiences. We can take your list of even just your students, and we can upload that list to Facebook. And we said, hey, Facebook, go figure out what all these people have in common. And I only want you to show your ads that are like those people. Unless you have a bunch of students you don't like, then let's not do that. But if you like your students, we ought to be doing that, because we can go figure out what those people have in common and then market directly to those people. But if we don't have a list, we don't have any of those options. All of the things that I just said work exceptionally well, and I'll be doing every single one of them over the next 90 days. But if you don't have that list, it becomes harder to do. So we need to start tracking that list and building lists. Some studio owners I talk to, they've just been writing people's names down, or they've got them in an Excel spreadsheet or something. Let's get those contacts that you have that built up over the years into some kind of a database. We can help you do that kind of marketing, right? There's some amazingly powerful things. So go send the 9-word email. I haven't done that. That's something that works in every industry. You ought to be sending it out every 30 days to 6 weeks to your list. So go trust in it and let it go. Yeah, the 9-word email was just, sorry, I see this question in the chat. The 9-word email is just, are you still interested in getting started in dance? Or are you interested in getting started in dance classes? And then you sign your name. And that is literally it. That is literally all you put in there. Fight the tendency to put your photo on it and to have a crazy, newsletter and HTML formatted thing. It just doesn't work as well. Just one last anecdote on that one. We had a live event. I don't know if Jenny's on the call right now, but we had a live event that we did in Vegas a little while ago, and I made everybody send out the 9-word email on a Friday night. And Jenny's list at the time, I think, was only 600 people. She got, I think, 120 responses in 24 hours. 120 responses in 24 hours off a 600-person list. Right? Like that's the kind of response you're going to get. So all it says is, hey, are you interested in getting started in dance? And then sign your name and fire it off to the list and let's see what happens. I would love to cause you all kinds of new problems by doing that. Okay, so number 1 is a list. Number 2 that we need to have in place, of the things we need to have in place to make all this work, is we need an evergreen offer. We need some kind of an evergreen offer. So what I mean by that is we need some kind of a thing that no matter what time of year it is, somebody might find that on our website and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to sign up for that. So what's your intro offer? And it should be something that works. It's not a back to school deal. It's not an open house. It's not a special workshop. Those things are not evergreen. They're great to use and they work exceptionally well, but there's some kind of evergreen offer. Come do 2 weeks of classes for $39. Come take a tour of the studio and meet the instructors. Like, what is this thing that somebody could sign up for at any time of year? We need that in place, okay? Because the open house strategy will be more effective if we have something that we can back off to if they can't make it during the time of the open house, right? We need that evergreen offer. We also need to prove that what you are offering is something that people want, right? I know that sounds stupid, but it is easier to enroll somebody that is in your social circle than cold traffic that is outside your social circle. So as we are working on enrolling people, when you first open your studio, you bring in a bunch of students that you probably have some kind of contact with, or that know you or found you somehow socially, and then they bring their friends, and you kind of get to this point, and then eventually in order to scale more, you have to reach into the cold market. We want an evergreen offer, some kind of come pay $29 for 2 weeks of classes, or come try out a class for $10 or whatever it is, that is converting. Now, a couple of things. I want that evergreen offer, personally, I want it to be a paid offer and not come try a free class. What are the benefits of running paid offers versus come try a free class? Can you get people in on a free class? Absolutely. Matter of fact, my open house is free. But the evergreen offer should be a paid offer. What are the benefits of a paid offer? What are they? Oh, there you go, Anjanette. Right out of the gate, you're more likely to attract top tier students. Love it, Dance Center. They already have a mindset of paying you something. Fantastic. Once they've made one transaction with you, their brain starts going into justification and rationalizing mode. Oh yeah, well, I already paid him money one time. I'll just, registration is that much easier. Love it. Everybody, you are all correct. I'm not going to read all the chats, but everybody pay attention to the chat. They have skin in the game. All of these things are true. There is something else that is very important about having a paid offer. If we can have a paid intro offer and sell that offer for less than the cost, than what we're charging for the offer, we have a scalable marketing strategy without a budget. So imagine for a second, right now I'm running a $39 2-week intro program, okay? $39. Somebody pays $40 to come in and do 2 weeks of classes. That's one of my offers that I have right now, evergreen offers that I have right now. I know that on Facebook, it cost me about $15 in ad spend, for example. Facebook, we have about $15 in ad spend to get somebody to buy a $39 offer. So if I give Mark Zuckerberg $15, the person now gives me $39. I take that money, I put it back into my marketing. I don't put it in my pocket. I have a scalable thing. So the excuse of I don't have money to advertise doesn't exist if we can get that offer to work. And we have always been able to get an offer like that to work. So the budget doesn't become a problem, because at the most you need to finance that out for 30 days. You put a credit card down, pay off the credit card, go do it again next month. You don't have any finance charges. Okay. Peter's asking in the chat, how many classes in your offer? Peter, the short answer to that is they are signing up for a mirror of the fundamentals program. So whatever my fundamentals program is, that's what the intro offer is. I don't say that on my website. We explain that as we're getting people in. So if my 7-year-old dance students are coming in and doing 2 classes a week, then the intro offer is for 2 classes a week. I'm giving them an experience of what they are actually going to enroll in. I absolutely always avoid the term unlimited. I have 0 unlimited programs at my studio. And I think it's absolutely a great way to shoot yourself in the foot by allowing people to come in and do unlimited anything. Okay. All right. What do I mean that the paid offer is converting? A couple of things. First and foremost, can I get somebody to come and sign up for it unless that it costs me to spend to advertise it, right? That's what I'm trying to do. But very specifically, we'll talk about in a second what that means on the website. This is scalable, and 30-day money is free. Do not underestimate that, okay? If you're running free intros and trying to get people in and a bunch of them aren't showing and some of them don't enroll and blah, 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 and it takes them 60 days to actually sign up on the website link, that kind of stuff, you're going to have to go sell a bunch of stuff in your garage to, on Craigslist to finance your marketing. I don't. I just take the money that my marketing generates in my intro, I throw it back into marketing, and this thing is scalable, right? I always have the cash on hand to do that. So there's the pattern. So number one, we need to have a list. Number 2, we need to have an evergreen offer that converts. And number 3, our website. Our website needs to hit some very specific KPIs, key performance indicators. All right. Here's a question. Here's a hard question. How many people are hitting your website per day, per week, per month, whatever, and not converting into students? How many people are hitting your website per week and not converting into students? That number is massively powerful, right? That number is massively powerful. If you are doing online enrollments on your website for cold traffic, for new students, it's almost useless. It's almost useless, that number, because we don't know why they're not enrolling, okay? Now, here's what we need your website to do, okay? Number 1, we need your list. Number 2, we need to have an evergreen offer that's converting. Number 3, we need a website with some specific stats that this website is hitting, okay? Number 1 is the website focused on getting your information out to people, or is it focused on getting their information into you? Which of those is more important and why? Is your website focused on just getting your information out to people? Well, I just gave it away with the word just, or getting their information into you. I want my website to be an information gathering machine. If I have the contact information for somebody that's interested in my stuff, I'm going to market to that person until they become a student or die, whichever comes first, right? I'm going to stay in front of these. Remember the blue paint from Home Depot following you around the internet? Right, I'm going to stay in front of these people. Right? How many of you have been on the list that I have for this program for more than a year? Probably a bunch of you, right? And I'm trying to stay in front of everybody. That's exactly what we need you to be doing as well. So we want your website to be focused on getting people's information in and not just out. Now, there's several ways of doing that. And just forcing them and making them sign up on your website is not a great way to do that. It needs to be a lower barrier of entry. A little form to get started in your intro is a great idea. The Facebook pixel, the Google Analytics code, there's a bunch of other things that we can have on there as well. All of those are capturing data from the visitors to your website so that we can then stay in front of them, right? There's a lot of folks out there that have built these massive websites with all these links and pages and all of our information on there. And then why isn't anybody reading our stuff? Well, when was the last time you signed up for some new software and it had the terms and conditions checkbox and you actually went and read the terms and conditions? Nobody does. We don't. I don't. Okay. Nobody does. There's a reason for that. So getting information out is very, very useless. Getting their information in is what we want to do. All right. So here's the KPIs we want to hit. Information in instead of information out. 10 to 20%, between 10 and 20% of all of the traffic that hits your website is signing up for an intro. When they sign up for an intro, they are being redirected to a thank you page. And then the website helps to indoctrinate that person to be thinking about your program the right way. That's the one point when we start doing a little bit of information out, because they have taken a step in commitment towards us. So offer, evergreen offer, little form, very simple. I'm not asking the age of the kid or what classes they're interested in or anything like that at this point. Very simple. Name, email, phone number, maybe a section for notes, maybe just that much. They fill that out. It goes to a page. Thank you. Here's why our program's awesome. Maybe a simple video, some testimonials, that kind of thing. That's it. And that second page, that thank you page, is at a different URL than the get started form is on. Does that make sense? Okay, it's super, super important that we have that set up today. It allows us, I'm not going to get into the details of why, but it allows us to do some very, very powerful things if we have that set up. All right. Next piece. Let's talk really briefly. I know that many of you already are doing this, but let's talk really briefly about the effectiveness of social media, of paid social media ads. One of the things that your competitors, many of them are proud of, I know this because they tell me, is that they don't have to run paid advertising. It's a mistake. It's a cult-like thought, right? This allows you to get into the cold market. You have an awesome program, but there's people who don't know about it. And we can get in front of those people if we can run some paid advertising. So social media is a great place to do that. Let's talk about what I'm doing in the next 90 days that I know works and that I have tested literally in all kinds of different markets. I know that there's a bunch of people out there. How many of you guys have seen an ad in the last week on your social media of somebody trying to sell you, we'll run your Facebook ads for your dance studio and guarantee your results and that kind of stuff, okay? Yeah, Peter. Yeah, Peter's got a question about Instagram. When I say Facebook, I actually mean both. But what I can tell you is that every test that we've run in the last 12 months, Instagram is twice as expensive as Facebook per conversion. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's still, as long as the cost per conversion off Instagram is lower than the cost of your intro, I don't care. But very few people have spent enough money on Facebook that it really justifies paying twice as much on Instagram. But Instagram absolutely works. When I say Facebook, I kind of mean both, because the platform is the same, right? The ads platform goes to both of those. But I've run into a number of folks that, a matter of fact, I talked to another one last week, that are running ads for dance studios, and quite frankly, they're just being dishonest. And one of the ways that they're being dishonest is they're running ads to like a free intro. And it's like, I've got 30 coupons for a free intro and but there's only 12 left. That's not true. It's just not true. Let's make sure that we're honest in our ads, okay, in our advertising. This is an important thing to me. I don't need to lie or make up some statistic in order to attract people to what I'm doing. That's not what my problem is, okay? So let's just, first of all, get that out of the way. If somebody's twisting your arm to say things that just simply aren't true, you just don't need to do that. So let's just be honest about what we're doing, okay? Single images have a better conversion rate than just about everything else we've tested. Single images without text. So of course, everybody wants to run an ad that's like, come try out a class or open house, and it's got text on the ad. That has not been out converting just a picture that looks like somebody's mom walked past the classroom with their cell phone camera and took a picture. We've tested it a bunch of times. 80% of the time, that single looks like mom took a picture with their phone image out converts just about everything else. Videos generally have a higher click-through rate, but the conversion rate, meaning people that actually fill out your little get started form or whatever, is higher for that single image. Okay, so that is still held true. That's been the case for a long time. We test that pretty consistently. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use that other stuff. If it makes your heart sing, go for it. It just doesn't convert as well. The other thing, and a mistake that I see with a lot of people's ads, is there's an incongruency between the ad and the landing page. So a lot, yeah, Peter's asking what's the conversion on the videos. It's hard to say exactly what the conversion rate is on a video because, for example, we have some folks, probably some on this call right now, that live in areas where the social media ads don't work as well as other areas. We have one that a studio we work with, we rarely get a higher than 0.54 click-through rate on their stuff. And so the conversion off of a static image or conversion off of video is going to be lower in that area than it would in your area. But what I can tell you is that static images, so everything is kind of relative depending on area a little bit. What I can tell you is that static images generally out-convert videos. Videos generally have a higher click-through rate, Okay, generally that's the case. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use a video. There's lots of justifications for it. And I can give you some strategies where using videos actually is the right answer, but it's a very, very specific problem that we're trying to solve when we do it. It's probably beyond what we're talking about today, Peter, but I'm happy to hop on a call with you, walk you through some of that. One example with one case study is if you're teaching something weird, like capoeira, running videos is actually a better thing to be doing a lot of times. So, okay. But on the ad itself, the clear call to action, yeah, abs, you're a good example of that. Clear call to action that's congruent with the landing page. So how many times have I seen this an ad? It's like, hey, we're starting this new preschool class, and then you click on it and it just takes me to your homepage. And then I have to dig through your website and remember what I was looking for and find the enrollment link. And then I have to go through, like, that's not what I'm trying to do. If it says, hey, we have an open house coming up, I want to link to the open house. I want to come in, I want to go sign up for the open house on that page, and I want it to be congruent. I want the same image in the ad to be on the landing page, that kind of thing. Okay, so that absolutely has an impact on that as well. All right. Now, this is a huge social media ads and that kind of stuff, a huge subject. Those three things, you do those three things, your stuff's going to convert better than your competitors, and your competitors don't understand those things. So let's get that far. All right. Now, really what's happening at this time of year that's a little bit different. Believe it or not, this is not actually the best time of year to be enrolling students. That is generally in June and July, but this time of year is a great time of year to be using an open house. Now, when I'm talking about an open house, I'm talking about a day. Usually we do ours on a Saturday. We take about 4 hours, and we have a number of different preview classes that people can come in and they can try out for free. Yes, I just said for free. Now, we have a bunch of people on this call that are charging $10 for their open house and getting a fine result. For me personally, I'm using this time of year to switch up the evergreen offer, which is a $39 intro usually, and have something else that I can send to my email list. Basically, as I'm fishing in the lake, I'm just using different bait and I'm just mixing it up throughout the year. Okay. So me personally, my open house is free. We have plenty of people that are proving a paid open house strategy works very, very well. Okay. Now, the open house that I'm running, like I said, it's about 4 hours long. There's a number of different preview classes of the classes that I need the most enrollment in, okay? Not necessarily the classes that are the most popular at my studio. And then I'm running social media ads to a landing page that explains what those are. And then, hey, if you'd like to pre-register, all I'm getting is name, email, phone number, and maybe a section for notes. That's it. I'm not asking them to pick a class. I'm not asking them for anything else. And the reason for that is because I want their contact info. And if they can't make it to the open house, or if that class is already full or something like that, I'm going to stay in front of them. I'm going to still talk to them rather than just, oh, sorry, we don't have anything for you, the way that most of your competitors are doing that. Does that make sense? Very, very, very simple registration strategy. And then we're running those people through our regular prospect pipeline to make sure that we actually get them enrolled and committed to showing up to the open house. Okay. Now, we'll do on average 30 enrollments on that day. For us, 30 enrollments is just under $3,000 a piece in average student value. So it's a $299 down payment. It's a 12-month commitment. And most of the students in those programs are probably paying about $189 a month. So you do the math out on that, and it turns out to be about $3,000. Just under that, it's $2,800 or something like that in the first year of enrollment, not including any other things that they would be spending or purchasing. So that's a conservative estimate. So if you're doing 90 students in 90 days, or if you're doing 30, let's say you're doing 30 students at an open house that enroll, every additional $90,000 helps, okay, in your studio. So this is a very important strategy. Now, that open house, there's going to be people that can't make it on that day that fill out your little form, or for some reason that is full. That's why we have the evergreen offer. I'm sorry, you can't make it to the open house this time around. You know what? We've got this other thing. It's $39. You can come in and try 2 weeks of classes out. Could you come in on Thursday at 5:30 for the class you're looking for? And then we have something else that we can do a lateral move to that does fit their schedule. Does that make sense? Because my open house is on a Saturday. They're probably coming to class Tuesday, Thursday. We sometimes run into some scheduling issues. So we want to have that evergreen offer to offer them if they can't make it to the open house at that time of year. All right. Now, after the open house, who already knows this answer? After the open house, what do we do? After the open house, what do we do? Yeah, Jenna's on fire today. Yeah, follow up. Peter, love the answer. That's exactly right. We do follow up. But we're looking now, we're going to sit down with my staff after we do an open house, and we're going to debrief. And we are going to look at what went well and what we could do next time, or we're going to make notes on that. And then we're going to look at our schedule and we're going to say, here are the classes. My Wednesday 11 a.m. pre-dance class didn't get enough enrollments in it. And my Saturday adult ballet at 2 p.m. didn't get enough enrollments in it. And we find on our schedule the places where we need additional students. And we schedule over the next couple of months, so open house in the next couple of months, we schedule mass intros for those classes. So I'm going to be running ads and I'm going to create a little landing page on my website that says Wednesday, 11 a.m. pre-dance class, now enrolling. We have a mass intro on the 27th of the month or whatever it is. I'm going to be running ads and hitting my email list like it is going out of style for 3 weeks, so that I can get a boatload of people in for a trial at the actual time the class is happening, and then get a bunch of those people enrolled in the places where I need them the most. Okay, so that strategy, the open house strategy, is kind of like a shotgun. We got a bunch of people coming in, trying a bunch of things, we're getting them on the schedule and all that kind of stuff. And then we're looking at mass, and then we're looking at this very targeted thing. Okay. That's very targeted thing. Mary, I do think you should do a buddy week, but I do think you should be doing mass intros as well. And the reason is because I need 11 a.m. on Wednesday pre-dance students. I'm going to run a mass intro for that very section so that I can fill that section. And that's the order that we do it in at this time of year. We do these open houses, and then we do mass intros, and that'll get us through the next 90 days, right? As we're doing all of those things. Now we have the evergreen strategy running as well. So people can't make it to that. Cool. We'll bring them into other stuff. We still have that going on. But that'll get us up to the holidays. That'll get us up to about the end of October, beginning of November. And then in November and December, we have different strategies. We need to shift. People's mindsets have shifted, and they're kicking stuff off to the end of the year to come in January. And so that time of year takes some special stuff. But this will get us through the next 90 days or so with open house and mass intro. Okay, mass intro always coming after. Yes, mass intro is always coming after the open house. Does that strategy make sense to everybody, how we're doing that? Okay, so we're getting, we'll get 100 people, let's say, pre-registered for the open house. We'll get 60 of them to actually show up. We'll get 30, 40 of them to actually enroll at that thing. And then we look at the schedule, we see where we're missing stuff. And then over the next several weeks, we're scheduling mass intros at different times on those classes so that we can push specifically enrollment in that direction. The whole time, that evergreen strategy is running in the background. And this is like the 1-2 punch that just absolutely kills it at this time of year, right? Literally everybody that we implement this with is getting a result. Now, I will say there is a little bit of bad news. We have seen with folks that now are doing their open houses a little bit earlier in the year. And I mean, like those that are doing it at about the exact same time that school is coming back, that since COVID, I've seen a little bit of a trend of that decreasing in effectiveness. My open house this year is about a month after school actually gets back. And I know that's counter to what most dance studios are doing, but part of my suspicion is that this is part of the reason that it works well, is that most studios are doing something different. And so if I'm timing mine at a different time, I'm in a much better position because they've pulled back on their marketing by the time I'm still launching mine and pushing that hard. Does that make sense? Okay. Especially in my area, like I said, I've seen a bunch of people copying our exact like strategies and wording and that kind of stuff, messaging. We do it about a month later. The other thing too, just in general, this is another thing you should write down as a note or maybe get tattooed on your forearm, is that everything we can do to disassociate the enrollment at our studio with the school year in your area is almost always the right thing. Almost always. Because why does everybody quit at the end of the school year? Well, because you told them to, right? Because we enrolled them for that. And why can't we sell them into the summer? Because they already made other plans and their intent isn't there. So what can we do to disassociate with the school year? Generally, we are seeing that right now. I asked that on my mastermind call last time. That is a trend that we're seeing with folks that know what they're doing, that are implementing these things. Now, there's one last technique I'm gonna throw at you guys here it could potentially double the enrollments you do this year if you will do this. Okay, on your info call. When you are talking to the person, however that happens, at the front desk, over the phone, on email, however that's happening at your studio, on the info call, if you can effectively solicit that person for bring a buddy, then you can literally double the amount of enrollments that you actually get if you do this the right way. And here's what I mean by the right way. I'm going to steal this story again from Dean Jackson, the same guy with the 9-word email. And his story goes like this. Imagine I invited you over to my house, and it was the first time you came over and visited, and I genuinely wanted you to make yourself at home. And I said to you, hey, I need to go make a phone call real quick, but please, there's food and drinks in the fridge. Make yourself at home. Go ahead and go grab something. I'll be right back. What are the chances that you would go grab some food? How many of you would actually do that? Like, probably not, right? That's just kind of awkward. Maybe some of you weirdos on the call would do that, but most people just wouldn't. Not on the first visit. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're not at that point yet, okay? But imagine a very similar scenario where I had just baked a batch of cookies, and you walk into my house and you smell these cookies, and I take them out of the oven and I put them on a plate, and I come up to you, and in a very similar way, I say, hey, I just baked these cookies for you. Would you like a cookie? Dude, you could be on a diet and eat gluten-free, and you would still feel bad not taking a cookie. You're going to take the cookie, right? We want to create an environment where the socially acceptable thing to do is what it is that we want them to do. Okay. And if I just say to somebody, hey, if you can think of a friend that you'd like to bring to class with you, I want you to know that you're welcome to do that. It's the same as saying, hey, there's some food in the fridge, man. Why don't you go grab it? Do you understand the difference? Okay. That's what I'm doing when I say that. So instead, we're going to bake them a cookie. And then the way we bake them a cookie is we make them the hero of their story. And we do it by creating a landing page on our website that has no links to it. There's no navigation to it. It's just, mydancestudio.com / share my intro or something like that, right? And it's a landing page that has, hey, somebody was thinking of you, your friend or family member, somebody who loves you just signed up for an intro at my studio, and they would love to share this intro with you. Just fill out this simple form, and our staff will reach out and help you schedule your class, right? So very, very similar to the way you do the Get Started form, the intro, the evergreen offer. But we now have this thing that we can share with buddies, okay? And now there's this link that I can give this person. I'm going to give them a cookie. I'm going to say, hey, many people feel more comfortable bringing a friend to their first intro. This intro that you just paid for actually counts for you and another person. Oh, I just baked them a cookie. I've got a special link I'm going to send you. Can you think of somebody that'd like to come to this intro with you? Oh, yeah, I think Sally might want to come. Awesome. If I send you this link, will you share the link with Sally? And then we'll get her in, and maybe she can take the class with you. Right? That simple phrase, after building that very simple thing, will significantly increase the number of referrals, that cold referrals, that brand new people who don't even know you are willing to do, because now they have a free thing they can share with their friend, and they're the hero, not you being the hero. And they're not inconveniencing you because you've created a way, you've baked them a cookie. Everybody understand that? You understand that? Okay. If you'll implement that stuff in the next 90 days, it's going to have a massive impact. All right. I feel like I dump trucked a bunch of stuff on people. Okay. No, Peter, there's no charge. No, they paid for it. The friend gets it for free. That's the whole thing, is that they're very likely to do it because now they're the superhero. It's like, hey, I paid 30, 40 bucks for this thing, but you get a free thing. Yeah, totally. I baked them a cookie, man. They're the hero now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay. Right. Absolutely. You say that to every single person that signs up for one of your offers, and get that in there. Jermaine, I didn't understand your question. Do you attach that to the evergreen? If you want to raise your hand. Yeah. I attach it to every front-end offer. So I would do that on the open house. I would do that on the mass intro. I would do that on the evergreen offer. I would do that if I was at the grocery store and wearing something with my logo and somebody asked me about it. I would literally do it everywhere because it helps people to feel special. And that's what I want. Not only that, even if they don't bring a friend or if they don't have any friends, hopefully we can solve that problem for them. We've put them in a mindset now that I'm gonna give them another offer like that with the new student pipeline. So if they enroll in my studio, there's a certain number of steps that we walk them through in the first 3 months of their enrollment. And one of them, they're already in the mindset to be sharing this with their friends. I'm going to get a higher percentage of them to do that as well at that point. So, Some don't feel special if they have to pay. I don't know. That hasn't been my experience. I don't know what to tell you. It's like, hey, this counts for you and it counts for another person. Can you think of somebody you'd like to share it with? It just, I don't know, it just works. That's what I can tell you, is that's been my experience, is that it works really well. So give it a try. If it doesn't work, stop using it. But my guess is it's going to work. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Okay, other questions? Good questions about all that stuff. I realize I just dump trucked a bunch of stuff on you. Anything else that you guys are kind of missing? Yeah, I think that's true too. Peter, timing is an important piece of this when you make that offer. Let's have them commit, let's have them schedule, let's take the payment for the intro. And then yeah. Dana says, I can't write my notes fast enough. Good. I hope that's the case. I hope it was helpful. And I will send out the replay when it's done as well. We'll post it in the Facebook group and then we'll send out a link by email. Hopefully you can watch it again on 2x speed and go in and update your notes as well. All right. For folks that are not in one of our programs right now, we would love to have you come and join us. We get some massive results for the folks that kind of handhold us as they're going through and implementing all of these things. And we've got a lot of it figured out for all kinds of offers in all kinds of areas. And so I wanted to give those of you that are not in one of our programs an opportunity to hop on a studio marketing brainstorm session with us. And there's no cost for that except for your time. And what we'll do on that call is we'll go over kind of what we call our 4 pillars brainstorm. There's some very specific little questions that we can ask you. We've done this enough times that we know that if we have the answers to those questions, we can get you a very specific checklist of what you ought to be doing next. That is what we call the low-hanging fruit. Here's what you should be doing. Should you be raising your tuition? Should you be changing your evergreen offer? Should you be doing, updates to your website? What are those things? We talked about a lot of things, open houses and mass interest and all these things today. There's a lot to do, and running a dance studio is like, or any kind of studio is like building a house in a hurricane. So there will always be too much work to do. So we have to focus on that low-hanging fruit. What is going to move the needle the fastest for you? Let's go get that stuff first. And we'll make that checklist for you on that call. We'll help you figure out what that is and then show you how much of a difference that would make if you can implement those things. And then it's up to you. If you'd like to have our help implementing that stuff, great. If you'd like to go take a whack at it on your own, totally up to you, man. You're welcome to do either one of those things. And we'll be there to kind of support you in that decision if you want to. But if you want to talk about what it would look like to have our help to implement that, we can have that chat at that time as well. Right now, I'm throwing a couple of little bonuses in here. This is the arm twist I'll give you. If your website's not converting using those stats that we're talking about today, and you decide you do want to work with us, we'll go build you one for free. We know what to build. We know how to build it. We know how to, what templates to use and what to test first and that kind of stuff. My guys will go build one. Or if you have a web developer that you like and you want to work with them, we'll just show them exactly what to build and what to change. And they can go do that themselves if they want to. But that's part of this too. Also, if you decide you want to work with us, we have some software that helps to manage all of this. A couple of great things, like you log into the software and it tells you, call this guy, email this guy, text this guy, you shut it down, you come back and you do the same thing. Nobody slips through the cracks. And we'll give you 6 months of that software just to try out for free. And it's going to make you a bunch of money if you implement that software the right way. The other thing I'm throwing in right now is a golden ticket to one of our live events with no expiration date on it. So we generally do about 3 sort of like offsite, we meet in person kind of events per year. And we'll just throw in a ticket to one of those for free. So you got to get yourself there, but we'd love to have you come join us at one of those. And then the other piece of the plan is our goal is we're going to try and increase the income of the studio. Let's come up with a plan to increase the income of the studio by $100,000. And I think that moves the needle enough that it makes it safe for you to scale or whatever it is. Peter, you already have one, man. So Peter, your golden ticket is already, you let me know when you can come to one of our live events. We'd love to have you there. So since you're already in one of the programs, that's okay. Here's how you get it. You go to, I'll type it in here, automateddancestudio.com. There's a little form you can fill out there. It's going to let us know a little bit about where you're at in your studio. And then you have a chance to book a call with us, and you can talk with either Sherry or me. It'll book a call with one of us, and we'll help you go through that brainstorming session and make sure that we figure out what the low-hanging fruit is in your studio. And then you decide, you want our help implementing, great. You want to go do it on your own, more power to you, and we'll support you as best as we can. Okay. Jennifer, I will send you a link directly to my calendar if you want. You should be in what's called our Ascent program, since you've already kind of gone through Basecamp. You're sitting on some massive value, and we can go do that very quickly. So love to, I'll send that over to you today. Get that over to you. Okay. All right. Before we wrap it up, any other questions? As you guys caught up with your notes and looked through them while you got me here, if there's anything else you want to chat about. Those of you already in the Basecamp or the Mastermind or the Ascent or something, you guys all, of course, have calls with us every single week, and we'd love to hear more about what you're doing. If you wake up at 3 a.m. with questions, just hop on one of those calls and we'll go through them with you guys. Dana, thanks for being here. Glad you could be here. Yeah, Abs, just send me an email, man, and I'll send you a link to my calendar. We can chat. That's no problem. Okay. Jenkins, the evergreen offer is the one that I mean that we're running all year round. So like $39 for 2 weeks of your fundamentals program or whatever it is, that one that isn't attached to an actual event or a time of year. Okay. Debbie, the Ascent is the first level of our mastermind program. And yeah, I think that happy to help out with that. Yeah. Good, Peter. Glad it was helpful. Fantastic. Glad it was good timing. I'm trying to be better at that, timing this stuff at the right time. Thanks everybody for being here. It was great chatting with you. Let me know if you have questions. We'll talk to y'all soon.